First returning subs, my growing extended beautiful family, allowing yourself to see through the blurred lines. A lot of things can be very heavy throughout this transition that we're going through, but trust and believe is going to give you a different perspective on everything that you have experienced throughout uh, those days. So, with that being said, much love to all. Namaste. Love and blessings, love and light, and many blessings are definitely coming your way. And if you have been watching my videos for a while and have not already, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell at the bottom so you know when I'm about to upload my next video. Um, if you um, if you are comfortable enough, please give me drop me a line or two. I would love the chance to get to know you as much as you're getting to know me, even if it's about the positive feedback of the content of my video, or you're just up telling me about your empathic gift, how it impacted your life and heading you towards a positive direction. And if you feel like the videos are very need spiritual guidance or just needing confirmation or validation towards life path or even soul purpose, please go ahead and share. And while you're at it, give me a thank you once again for the love and support. It's greatly appreciated. And I hope that you're able to resonate with the content of my video. And the music I'm listening to in the background is called 528 Hertz, Cleansing Energy in your home, yourself, and clear negative energy from your house frequency. And I will post that link in the description box below. We all should end up, we should listen to the cleansing yourself as well as your home at least about once or twice a week. Um, it's really good, especially if you work outside your home and you have to deal with a lot of different people. It's good to do that at least twice a week. But the video I'm doing today is called Twin Flame 101. Heyoka is seeing things at a different perspective. Your abusers mirrored something to you they could never be. A lot of times right now we're going through like it's like we're on the road of redemption. You're trying to reach that road of salvation, being able to save yourself and heal yourself from the things that were placed on you for you to be on this path. We signed the contract, we didn't see the fine print that they were going to knock everything off, so you had to be able to go through all these different things, but you couldn't have, your warrior powers as well as your energy had to really be shut down for everything to take place in your life. You had to be shocked in a way, in an extra way, when it comes to abusers and stuff like that, they got to be extra with everything. So, you had to be able to really go through those things, endure them, and a lot of times it makes us very anti towards people, whether it's hard for you to get into relationships. It's hard for you to get close to anybody because of the things that you have experienced throughout your life. Maybe, a lot of people have deceived you, when you allowed yourself to open up, people just did things. So it's just like a lot of times, when you're going through things, you have to allow yourself to see things at a different perspective. That's how I had to do for myself. Even though I get my feelings about certain things, because like I said, when you have gone through a lot of trauma, if it's, if you went through sexual abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental, all those things, it goes in layers, you have to basically allow yourself to really see it as that, when these things has happened to you, even though it can be very traumatic in a lot of ways, you know, um, you can't be hard with yourself about how much you have healed throughout that time. It's not something you can just get over within a day saying, oh, I can probably get through this in 1 week. It's not even about that, because a lot of times you're not just healing from things that came up in this life. You're still clearing your life from, since day one. So that's a lot of things. It's just like I could be okay one day and then it'll be something that, comes on TV, or, I see a video that kind of reminds me of the things that I went through. And that was that reminder, like, hey, you deserve to have that peace of mind. You deserve to not allow yourself to keep that chain of events, keep going in your head in that repetitive cycle. So you have to allow yourself to see that they can never be the things that you are. Even if they tried to, they could, but that's not what they were sent for. You had to be able to go through these things. You had to be able to endure it, but you have to allow yourself to look at it in a different perspective. Not as, these people didn't care about me. It was very hurtful about the things they did, because that, at times I did that, and I had to allow myself to know, look, you need to go ahead and put this in a different perspective so you can make peace with yourself. Because if you allow yourself to look at it as a victimizing, even though it did happen to me, but it was something that this is what they were assigned to do. They weren't here to come in and be in my life and be all loving, happy, this, and this, and that. Basically, I knew about this when I was 5 years old. I just didn't understand what was going on. It was like a dream that of things that I went through. And it was like my soul was already preparing me for this, because it was like I wouldn't allow myself at times to get close to my mom's husband. There were certain things. It's like the more I get close to, opening myself up to see things what they are instead of ignoring them or saying, oh, okay, I don't want to deal with this no more. I'm separating myself from it. But you have to emotionally and mentally separate yourself from it, but also give your mind that psych of understanding on why this had happened. There's a lot of things. Like I could be one, like okay for a minute, and it was just like, even though I'm aware of what happened, there are certain times I go through this surreal moment, like, dang, your ex, I mean, not your ex, but your adoptive father, did he really put you through all this? And it's like I have to be able to tell myself, and it's just like the higher self in me was like, Roslynn, you have to understand this man did not come into your life to be your father. He was never even supposed to be family. He had to mirror you to the things that they didn't want you to find out. That's what he signed up for. You picked this man to do this to you. You know, you picked everybody that you have dealt with and they had to do this to you. But it was just the whole point. Universe, God didn't tell you all your warrior defenses is going to be shut down. You had to be able to forget all the things about you that you knew before you did this. You had to go through these experiences. You had to allow yourself to be able to read between the lines, allowing yourself not to fall short, and needed to go through that trauma to remind you you're powerful. This is something that you can get through. It's not going to be easy, but you have to allow yourself to know this is what had to take place in your life for you to be able to stop this in your generation. If this was posed, this can no longer continue. So it's going to be the harshest time. This is the harshest thing you probably have ever had to endure. And then you had to deal with it at a long period of time. It was just like, it was already bad when you were growing up, but it got worse when he knew, you know, there will be people that can, basically defend me on the things that has went on to my life. All of them had to pass away. So it's just like a lot of times I had to allow myself to see that, you know, this man tried to break me down. You know, he always tried to make sure he gaslighted me in any kind of way. And it was just like, I had to allow myself to mentally detach myself from that. And I knew I was starting to be mentally detached from it because it's like, just being able to associate with me, the name he gave me is really hard for me to deal with. Like, dude, I don't even want that name anymore. I don't even want it. It's just, at times that makes me want to vomit in my mouth, even saying my name and having to, say that his last name is my name, and I had to allow myself to know this man has never been in your life to be who you wanted him to be. He had to be that person that mirrored you, something he could never be, because it's like, his father that abused him still has power over him. Even though he's been dead for over like 50 some years, he still has that power over his son, even though he's still dead, you know. But you had to be able to show that prime example. See the things that you're doing that has been done to you. Matter of fact, all your siblings, because all y'all had like very, really bad coping mechanisms. They were always drunk, like alcoholic drunk. To just to deal with their pain that they constantly had to deal with. So it was like you had to be able to show him, even though you play, this chord for that. You had to allow yourself to be able to see the warrior you always been. You have to be able to look in the mirror and being able to see past the bumps and the bruises, the tears, the hurt, the pain. Those things had to happen for you to always remind yourself you've always been that chosen one. All of us has been that chosen one that you had to allow yourself to see through all that, all those layers of hurt and pain, that light of a warrior a strength of things that can never, hold you down. It's always been there. It had to be layered up under the pain, the neglect, the abandonment, the abuse, all those different things. All your things that you are of beauty of love, the light that you have constantly carried is in the midst of all of that. And that had to be reminded, because there's a lot of times you have to be able to, even though it hurts like hell, the things that you're healing from right now, you have to allow yourself to see everything else that is taking place in your life, and yet you're still here to be able to tell somebody, this is what I endured in my life. Because it's like when I allow myself to go through those certain time stamps in my life, it's like, God dog, how are you able to get through? And it was just like when it comes to my situations and stuff like that, a lot of things is taking place in my life. It was like it was like, God dog, they had me intervene with the most treacherous people, living in the Midwest, and I had to deal with the most corrupt cops, where they kicked me in my face, they broke my teeth. I have, you know uh spinal damage from my what is it, from my alcohol, what is it, from the drunk driver that kicked me, hit me in my daughter's father's car, the cop that yanked me out the car, and kicked me all up in my back and stuff like that, and kicked all my teeth out my mouth, all these things, and tell me he was going to kill me and stuff like that. And they lied on the stand, all these different things, before I actually knew who my father was, what kind of situation I'm attached to when it comes to him. Something always told me, you make sure that you tell them, do you know who you messing with? And I always had to say stuff like that. Like, I don't care who you are, we'll kill you. We put you right next to your mom and all this stuff, and they won't be able to identify you and all that. He really tried to break me down. And it was just like when I allow myself to see the things that I've had to connect with and the worst type of people, it was like, just because they got away from it then, is about to impact later on in life, and it's going to be having a ripple effect on every single thing that I've connected with since I've been here. And it had to allow myself to be able to tell my story, tell the experiences I've had, where there's so many times I should have been dead, but I was always had like an angel constantly get me out of my little stuff that I was dealing with, whether it was like a constant pill popper. Because after I got into that car accident that damn near killed, well, actually it did kill me and brought me back. My body has been messed up since then, and I'm starting to pay for it now. And while I'm getting into later age, but being able to allow myself to see things that I was truly blessed for, because there's a lot of things that I've been placed in my life that I shouldn't even still be here, you know. But for some things that God made sure I was here for, um, and then I allowed myself to really see who I truly was, And it's like you have to be able to see that throughout your life as well. It's things that you're healing from right now, the things that you are allowing yourself to really see. It's always been there. You just had to have those little snippets in your life that you knew you were different from a lot of people. There's things that you have been probably tied down to or associated with yourself. And for you to still be here, other people would have did the same thing. They wouldn't have lived through the things that you have overcome. And a lot of times we can really go through things and it can put us in a very bad mental state. You know, um, like they say, you can have a case file. It's like something that you have really endured that an average person would have probably lost their mind or lost their lives for dealing with. And you have to allow yourself to see you were that one that had to go through every battle, even though you might have came back, bruised up, couple of cuts and bruises, or maybe having bullet holes, but you still made it through that. And you needed to be dealing with those type of people. And it's just like, I've always had to deal with those type of people growing up that has really tried to break me down in a lot of ways, you know. And what has taken place in my life, to where even though I've encountered a lot of horrendous things, there was always somebody there to get me up out of it. you know um Things that it wasn't even about me. It's like when I seen that time when I got into that very bad car accident, it was actually me saving him. It wasn't even about me. It was me saving him because it was at that time this guy was a taxi cab driver driving drunk, okay, with no lights on. And I guess his relatives, the one that beat me up really bad, they were related or whatever. And they were trying to pin that situation on me, saying it was my fault when my car was just parked. And it was like when I allowed myself to really take aback, you know, how that situation went down. And it was like you had to be there at that direct moment because he wouldn't have just been hitting himself, because it's like where he got into the impact of that car. It's like the outer road and it's up high, and down the hill is the main highway. And he would have ended up killing a lot of people because that was like on a Friday night, and this is when everybody are taking their truckloads, and it was like the 3rd of July. So it was like the car, it was like major traffic there, because even about me, he wouldn't just killed himself. He would have killed a lot of other people involved. But, God and the universe made sure to see fit that I just, I died for that minute. Again, I done died a few times. And, the way they said the length of time that I've been, gone, I should have some kind of brain damage, but I haven't. So I allowed myself to really see things that's taking place in my life, and those traumatic situations that you have been in, whether it was an abuser or things that you have done that, normal people would have probably passed away from. I've dealt with a lot of pain when I was just like my mental as well as my physical. I dealt with a lot of pain growing up. So it was like when that accident came, I started feeding my pain through prescription drugs. And there's a lot of times I don't even understand how I'm still living. My kids saw me pass away and they had to bring me back, and they were very young. And that was that time where I said, you know what, I can't do this to them. This is just, my kids has been exposed to enough. So it's just like all these things that I've impacted in my life, whether it was good or bad. It served a purpose, because it was just like with me having to come to terms with having to do almost like close to 3 months in jail. I was supposed to get 17 years for the cop that had tried to kill me. He had a gun right to the back of my head, and it just so happened to be an officer that was on a different county, and he was really tight with my mom, and he transferred to that county. And this is a cop that did coke. He had connects throughout the drug, the drug relate, relative, whatever you want to call it. He had connects throughout that. If you had what he wanted, you can get off scot-free, long as you make sure that you gave him his booger sugar, as they call it here nowadays. And it just so happened I had to scream and tell my best friend, hey, call the cops. This dude was trying to kill me, you know. And when I got out, my back was messed up. All my teeth were like, it's all there. I have no teeth at the top of my mouth. And even right here, it's like still messed up from that damage that I had. I had close to like $40,000 in damages, nerve damage in my mouth. And they tried to send me to prison saying that I tried to kill him because I defended myself. I said, this dude tried to blow my daggone head off. And it just so happened my mom's friend, he had transferred and he had to get him off of me because he didn't know I knew him. But he's like, Roslynn, this is my first week here and I had to deal with this. And, they had to take him on administrative leave, paid him. He could have lost. The guy didn't lose his job, but he threatened him, saying if you press charges against me, you tell the truth about what I did to this nigger, your family's gonna come up missing. So they had to put him on administrative leave, and he told me exactly what happened. And I said, so you're willing to let me go to jail for something I didn't do? And he was just like, Rosalind, they threatened my family. I just had another baby. I can't, and I had to understand at that time, things happen for a reason. And I didn't understand it until it took a couple of years to understand what happened now. It's like you had to be able to do things where you even seen the lawyers were corrupt, the judges were corrupt. It's like through that whole situation, it was a race war. They had like about 30 Black people on that jury, and they made sure they took them off. And I had to be used as an example. I had to be that black person that went to jail for something I didn't even do, you know. But it's like now, the dude was like, they won't be able to identify you. My family knew I didn't do it, but that's my mom's ex-husband. He was gonna make me do that because he was hoping I would have died in jail, for something I didn't do. So it's just like a lot of things that has transpired in my life. It gave me that aha moment. It's like you're gonna impact the world in the most miraculous ways, but you had to go through the most dark uh, stages of trauma in your life just for you to impact somebody's life in a positive way. You have to be able to allow yourself to see the time stamps in your life where you have been impacted in the most traumatic way, but you still were able to overcome that. You were already that chosen one, but the enemy tried to make sure you didn't get as far as you have gotten now. And I had to be able to allow myself to see it as that way, because I was just like, how, people like this can get away with stuff like that. But you have to understand, they didn't get away with anything. But certain things had to transpire for them to be able to get hit where they're supposed to get hit at. So if you're dealing with a lot of things that has been placed on your life that has really allowed you to see, because a lot of things it really can let you know there's monsters out in the world. Just like there's earth angels walking around here, you got the monsters of darkness around here as well as that too. But you have to allow yourself to know it has to be a balance towards everything. But don't feel like, whatever you went through was in vain. There's a reason why certain things had to take place the way it did. I had to allow myself to say that too. I know I've done a lot of things in my life and I can own up to that. When you're going on your road to recovery of healing, you have to allow yourself to take responsibilities for the decisions you made, the decisions that you decided to place yourself in. I did that, you know. So I allowed myself to, you have to be honest with yourself as well as being honest about where, because if you want to get where you need to get, you have to be very honest about things. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, but it's all about, okay, when you learn from the mistakes, just don't try to, put yourself in certain situations where you repeat those same mistakes. It's going to put you further down in a situation that you're not even trying to be in. But I had to make peace with that, and there's times that I get my feelings about the things that, my mom's ex-husband has gotten away with, the things that he's done to me emotionally and mentally. He groomed me, all those different things in life. It made me look at, religious people in a different way, trying not to sit up here and say every religious person is like that. But for you to be claiming to be a man of the cloth, you can't pray God but shake hands with the devil at the same time. And that's what he's done. And I had to allow myself to know that a lot of times, you have to do things to where you get comfortable, because it's like when you get really comfortable and you felt like you've been getting away with things for so long, you have to understand, what's meant for you will always be for you, no matter, what people try to do to manipulate for robbing you of the things that you have deserved. It's not going to be for them. They can think that all they want to, but, going to come change. Change is coming. That's what it is. But allow yourself to see, those negative impacts in your life, because when they tell you you'll never be anything, when you grow up, you'll never be nothing, you have to say thank you, because nothing is everything. Everything, nothing is something that you can't specifically put it on and mold into whatever it decides to be. So a lot of times when somebody tells you, oh, you'll never be nothing when you grow up, they don't realize they're giving you a compliment, because whatever you decide to mold yourself into, or they already can see that you've been molded into that. They don't want you to see that in yourself, because they see it in you, and that's the reason why they try to rob you of all that. My mom's ex-husband is known. I've always been fierce with my words. I never allowed myself to kiss anybody's butt. I was never that yes girl. You ask me a question, I'm that type of person. Don't ask me something you don't like the answer to it, because it's going to be that truth. And they didn't like that. I was my own person. I didn't worry about how people see me. That's them. They worry about how people perceive them. They want people to be jealous of them for the things that they do. And I always be that type of person. Be careful what you ask for, because it may be you may be getting it, but not in the way you want it. So I had to allow myself to make peace with myself. It was a hurtful feeling to know that, a man I always admired and looked up to was willing to hurt me in every way possible just to make sure his wife lived comfortable, live above her means over things that wasn't even entitled to her, that I was robbed from, my children were robbed from. But then I had to allow myself to know you're bigger and better than them. And that's the reason why you're so, they're, they're threatened by you. And it's just like now when I stay calm and cool about every situation, I don't allow myself to be, mouthy like I used to be. I used to tell them about everything that was going on in my life because I felt like I couldn't trust them. At that time, they tried to make it seem like everything was my fault, you know? So it's like when you see them as a parent, they use my weaknesses against me. Now, since I don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing, and is the heat's getting turned up, and they're running out of money, they try their best to be nice to me, be friendly to me. And it's just like, you know, I'm not that person that, I used to be, where I felt like, if I do anything just to have my mom's husband in my life to be my dad, um, maybe it's my fault because I act just like my biological dad. And I was willing to cut my face up just to make sure I didn't look like something he couldn't stand, because that's how much I loved him. I was willing to not love myself just to make sure I loved him. And I had to allow myself to know, when you're really truly loved, nobody's not going to sacrifice your well-being for anybody. Real parents don't do stuff like that, you know. But when people do that, you have to allow yourself to see this ain't even about you. It's about how you're being seen, that they wish they can be seen in the same kind of way. So when they can't control how they want you to see yourself, they'll do that with other people that are surrounding them to make them look at you in a different way. Because I used to always wonder every time I was around them, I meet somebody new, how they can be nice at first, but then they'll put them in that corner and made my life water cooler talk. Then people started looking down at me like I was a peasant, like I was trash, you know. And it was just like, wow, why do people keep doing that? But then I had to learn, they've always been like that. They were threatened by my dad, you know, um, and it was just for me being related to them. But then I'm glad that they showed me that, because it was like they almost won at one point. It almost did. But it's just like I'm going through my trials and tribulations. I'm healing. I'm allowing myself to set myself free from those painful incidences that came to my life. It was hard for me to really make peace with that. But then I had to allow myself to look at it as this: when you are strong and you have that powerful light, and you've been through a lot of things, and you did not allow those things to take a hold of you and swallow you whole and spit you out. You allowed yourself to overcome these things and be and when people look at you, they're very threatened by that. My dad always constantly tell me, I see why they talk about you so bad, because it's like you speak bold with your words, and that's what people admire about you, because you're very real. You're very loving. You come from a loving place, but you keep it real. You don't care how people see you, because you're living in your truth. They are not. They're living in ways of, wanting people to be jealous of them. And they always used to say, I always used to say that, if you got to brag about the things that you have, you must not be used to getting stuff. And they used to always look at me like I was crazy. And it was just like, but now I see why they were the way they were. So it's just a lot of times you have to allow yourself to see in between the blurred lines, allowing yourself to see when people tell you you never amount to nothing, your life is messed up because of the choices you made. It's never true. You're never too old to change how you want to live your life, decide how you're going to walk your path. If you mean right, and you're allowing yourself to be loved by yourself. When you allow yourself to validate yourself and love yourself and have respect for yourself, you're showing other people how you want to be treated. And if the ones that don't respect that, they gotta go. And the other ones are just going to gravitate toward you anyway because they're like-minded. When they see that, when they see how you love yourself, they want to love themselves like that too. You know, you're allowing yourself to not be like arrogant or anything like that. But when a person is kissed darkness a lot of times and they feel like they're drowning in their pain, you can be that example to be able to tell them just because you did that don't mean that you're going to be swallowed whole by your pain. Be that lifeguard for yourself to get yourself out of that pool. You have to get up. You have to get out. Your life is not meant to stay in that situation. So don't allow yourself to keep embracing that painful scenario of the things that you have clearly not associating yourself with. So you have to thank those abusers for what they have done. I have told, my mom's ex-husband, I said, I forgive you for what you have done, but I also thank you at the same time. And that kind of pissed him off, because back in the day, he knew he can say little things and it was very hurtful, but you wanted to make sure I looked how you portrayed me out to be. And now it's like, you don't have that pull anymore. You have to have me around you just for you to be able to do that. I don't care what you say about me, when you're in front of your friends, but you could never say that with me being there. Now I have to allow myself to see, it's not over until the powers that be say it's over. What is for you will always be for you. What is for you is already on its way here. It's already been done. They got confidence in you that what that blessing is you've been asking for, you had to be able to see that confidence in yourself that you got what it takes to maintain that. You have to have that mindset to keep it going. When you get blessed like that, don't allow yourself to be making them same mistakes you had before you can be able to get those, because the only person you can blame is yourself, for that, and the choices you decide to make. But whenever you have been in to get you on this path to spirituality, to understand and know about yourself on a deeper spiritual level, thank whatever that was, because it reminded you of everything that you have forgotten. And you have to be able to allow yourself to see it in a different perspective in case you want to win. Because if you allow yourself to look at it as in a victim mentality, and sometimes we can do that when we're going through certain things and not even realize that's what we're doing. Some people like getting attention by allowing themselves to be, oh, these things happen to me. Oh, these things happen. But if you can allow yourself to use it as a positive outlet for a negative experience, to use it as a positive outlet, that's better off for you. That can be able to ease your mind as well as your heart. Because when you can allow yourself to say, yes, I've gone through this has happened to me, but guess what? I've overcome this, and I'm using this as my milestone to be able to go even higher than what they expected me to. When people tell you can't do it, you just tell them, just watch me. You are your only limit. If you allow yourself to challenge your challenges, there's nothing that you won't be able to put your mind to. Allow yourself to keep going, and you giving the haters that keep on watching you, they're gonna take been able to have fun and enjoy it as well. I would love to give a post notification shout out to Mary S as well as Carol Chapman and Claire McGee. Much love to you. And if this is your first time stopping by my channel, welcome. And so give me a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share. If you would love to get in contact with me, you don't feel comfortable with telling what you got going on here, but you really want to talk to me, you can always find me on the Book of Face on Messenger. Just allow me to know you out the best way as I can, or if I can, I'll be able to give you love, knowing there's always somebody out there praying for your better days. And I pray that everything is sooner than you expected it to. And make sure you give out love, light, positivity, as well as prosperity, love, vibes, frequencies, and words towards others. You never know, those things can really take somebody a long way. And I'll see you in my next video. Much love. Peace.